The Fitterist Show with your host, Christopher Allen, where we explore the art of mind and body conditioning. This week, we take a look at 3 different health and wellness news stories. In the headlines from the past week, up first is a study that looks at the health risks of the energy drink in the exploding energy drink marketplace. Next up is an article to help you eat a little healthier when you eat out at restaurants, which is an ever-increasing event these days. Finally, we take a look at Tonal, a new entrant, or relatively new entrant, into the at-home digital fitness space, where they have chose to focus on weight and resistance training in the home with a digital personal trainer. So let's dive in. Our first news story is from a study from May of 2019 that was relatively recently published in the Journal of the American Heart Association that indicates that energy drinks can cause some major health issues, including increased blood pressure and heart problems. According to this study, the number of energy drink-related emergency rooms visits has doubled between 2007 and 2011, and this uptick in ER visits coincided with the FDA's findings of 34 different energy drink-related deaths over the course of several years. Now, energy drinks have been associated with things including cardiac arrest, myocardial infarction, spontaneous coronary dissection, and coronary vasospasm. I'm not claiming to know what the hell all of those are, but these were some of the risks that were indicated in the study. They found an association between consuming energy drinks and changes in QT intervals and blood pressure that cannot be fully attributed just to caffeine. Now, what's a QT interval? A QT interval is a measurement that's used in this specific study that measures the time it takes for heart ventricles to prepare to generate a beat. So it's an objective measurement that they can use in the study for participants consuming energy drinks. Now, any discrepancy in those QT intervals can lead to some sort of arrhythmia, which is an abnormal heartbeat, and could potentially be life-threatening. Energy drinks can also disrupt things like sleep patterns because of their high caffeine and stimulant content. They can cause heart palpitations, anxiety. They can contribute to digestive problems, increased blood pressure, dehydration, and all of these were cited by the National Institute of Health. Now, energy drinks can be dangerous because the large amounts of caffeine may cause serious heart rhythm, some blood flow, and blood pressure problems. Researchers with the American Heart Association have warned that energy drinks can be, again, quote, life-threatening, especially for those who already might have high blood pressure or any cardiac issues. And the challenge oftentimes in kids is they're not screened very well with high blood pressure or cardiac issues. You don't expect kids to have those. That's where you run into a recipe that could spell disaster. Other potential issues cited in the study include irregular or rapid heartbeat, trouble breathing, potentially diarrhea, fever, and convulsions. So it's not something to necessarily be trifled with. So let's take a quick look at the energy drink market size. This is part of the challenge. The global energy drink market size was valued at $53 billion in 2018, climbing to $61 billion by 2021, expected to continue that growth at a CAGR of 7.2% to reach $86 billion by 2026 in the energy drink market segment. It is estimated that about 30% of teenagers between the ages of 12 to 17 years old in the United States consume energy drinks on a regular basis. Now, energy drinks are beverages that contain caffeine, possibly taurine, vitamins, and other stimulants, and are marketed as products that actually boost mental alertness and physical stamina. These drinks may or may not be carbonated, and they differ from sports drinks like a Gatorade, which is really mostly used to replace electrolytes and water to prevent dehydration during or after exercise. In addition, they are distinguished from tea and coffee, which are brewed, contain lesser effective ingredients, and can also be decaffeinated. And the manufacturers of these energy drinks claim, of course, that their products improve energy levels, which, when you have a lot of stimulants and caffeine going on, that's not, a crazy claim. Some of the major players in this space are names you've probably heard of. People like Red Bull, Monster Beverage Corporation, Rockstar, the Coca-Cola Company, Pepsi, Arizona Beverage Company, Dr. Pepper, Snapple, Living Essentials, Cloud9. So some of these guys got into the marketplace. I think Red Bull and Monster were pretty early in terms of first mover advantage. And then huge companies saw how popular this segment is and started snapping up companies building their own products and bringing them to market. So what are in these energy drinks? Well, the ingredient list generally varies, but some of the common staples are caffeine and sugar. These are ingredients typically found in most energy drinks. The drinks can also contain large amounts of sugar, even comparable to things like soda and fruit drinks, as well as artificial sweeteners. A lot of them also have taurine, which is an amino acid, which is often found in energy drinks. That ingredient particularly aids the effects of caffeine. There's other ingredients which could include guarana, kola nuts, yerba mate also contain caffeine and other caffeine derivative stimulants. One particular danger about the energy drinks is that the manufacturers are not necessarily required to disclose what ingredients go into formulating the popular beverage. So these energy drinks, a lot of times, they don't know exactly what's in them and in what quantities. Manufacturers of these drinks are not necessarily required by law to disclose the contents. Some have performed independent analysis on them, have learned at least a few of the drinks are really loaded with huge amounts of caffeine. So my take, look, people are almost always going to look for a little pick-me-up, whether that's a cup of black coffee, a Mountain Dew, Coca-Cola, or even an energy drink. I think the key thing is just not to go crazy. The things that grab the headlines are the 17-year-old kid in Alabama who drank 17 Monster beverages during football practice and then passed out and died of a heart attack on the field in 103-degree heat. That's just not smart. But if you're looking for some alternatives to energy drinks, here are a couple of different options. You can drink green tea. You can drink water. Just staying hydrated really keeps your body running. It really allows you to process things much more easily when you take water with meals before, during, and after workouts. Make sure you're getting enough sleep each night. Get 7 to 9 hours of sleep so you don't have this super hangover effect of being really tired because you stayed up all night watching Netflix and you only got 3 hours of sleep. Another thing you can do is have a good, solid, balanced diet. Eating protein, eating carbohydrates, making sure you have the fuel and energy within you for a workout. Carbohydrates provide your muscles with energy. Protein helps to build the muscles after you tear them down. Another thing you can do is take vitamins. There are naturally occurring vitamins and minerals such as magnesium that can help your body produce energy. And a vitamin or mineral deficiency could be causing some of your fatigue. You can always talk to your doctor about getting a nutritional assessment and just seeing where you might have some vitamin deficiencies and then supplement those and add those into your diet. But diet is a huge component toward having energy, sustained energy throughout the day. And finally, one of the things you can do is just be active. When you exercise, it helps you feel better. And as you exercise more regularly, you'll have more energy. And finally, if you do take caffeine drinks, it is important to cycle down off of caffeine to reduce your adrenal gland receptors so that you don't build up a tolerance, because caffeine, you can build up a tolerance where you used to have to drink 1 can of Mountain Dew, and now you have to drink 2. So it's important to cycle down, give those adrenal glands a rest, go caffeine-free for a couple, 3 weeks, and then gradually, if you feel like you need an energy pick-me-up, whether it's coffee, Mountain Dew, you can work that back in. But just be smart. Don't go crazy. In the news story number 2, dining at restaurants is a recipe for unhealthy eating. How you can eat better. This was a study that was published in late January 2020 in the Journal of Nutrition by the Friedman School of Nutrition Science and the Policy at Tufts University in Massachusetts. What they found was pretty fascinating. They found that 21% of the calories that an average American consumes comes from some type of restaurant. And in general, those factors are kind of bad news for the health of people in the United States because the meals are not necessarily that healthy. Let's take a quick look at the methodology. The study really just analyzed the dietary selections of more than 35,000 adults in the United States from 2003 to 2016, so a very longitudinal study in the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. And the goal was to determine how often they dined at full service or fast food restaurants. And the researchers assessed the nutritional quality by evaluating specific foods and nutrients in the meals based on the American Heart Association 2020 diet score. So what did they find? Well, in addition to the 21% of meals consumed by some type of restaurant, that includes picking up food at a restaurant, bringing it home. It also includes meal delivery services, having meals from a restaurant delivered to your home. And they also found that fast food restaurants, about 70% of the meals consumed by Americans were of poor dietary quality. Now, not a huge surprise there. It's a fast food restaurant. It's not known as the bastion of nutritional health, but 70% poor dietary quality. That's pretty bad. So you think, okay, what about a full-service restaurant? Like Applebee's, Chili's, Fridays, steakhouses. Well, at those full-service restaurants, they found that about 50% of the meals were of pretty poor nutritional quality. And in their estimation, the researchers also reported that less than 1% of all of the restaurant meals consumed over the entire study period were of, quote, ideal quality. So I found this study pretty interesting because one of the macro trend of people eating at restaurants or having restaurant food brought into their homes for consumption instead of cooking your own meals at home, which tend to be quite a bit healthier, as this study kind of found. So what are some of the challenges? Well, the first that they found was the menu composition. While ultimately the consumer is the one that makes the choice about what to order and what to eat at a restaurant, the restaurant in most cases doesn't really necessarily make it that easy for one to order a healthy meal. Now, different menu layouts, and they have various icons on the menu that is, quote, healthy meal. But even then, it's hard to control some of the sodium levels and things of that nature for some of the meals. In most cases, meals were mostly lacking healthy components such as whole grains, fish, seafood, legumes, nuts, and seeds. Another challenge they found was cost. Delicious, fresh, nutrient-dense, organic ingredients are about 3 times more expensive than conventional grown ingredients, and it only costs pennies to eat traditional fast processed food like burgers, tacos, and fries. So what happens is people that are more on a budget and cost conscious tend to eat lower quality, less nutritious food. Okay, so what are some of the opportunities? Well, restaurants can start to seek federal, state, and local governments that should reward restaurants that are doing the right thing. They could potentially provide tax or regulatory policy that encourages and lowers the cost of healthier options and eating in those restaurants that do the right thing. On the consumer side, look, you got to review the menu before you go to the restaurant so you can have a heads up on what the restaurant actually offers. Most restaurants have their menus online. It's really easy to do that. And you can even call in advance to see if food can be prepared in a way that's satisfactory to you. Most restaurants are very accommodating. When I was doing competitions, I even asked them to scrape the grill down to make sure there was no excess oil on there before they grilled my chicken breast. Most restaurants happy to comply with that. Now, do I know if he did that or not? No, but the chicken breast tasted good and didn't seem like it was excess oily. Also, as a consumer, you can try and avoid the upsell meal deals. Stick to the basics. The upsells often include a lot of other things that are not necessarily that healthy. And remember your server, leverage that person. Be kind. Ask for their recommendations that would fit your needs. Say, hey, I'm on a diet. I'm watching what I eat. I'm trying to eat healthy. what would you recommend between A or B, or could you potentially prepare this dish in this way so I could avoid X? Generally, they're there to serve and they'll help you. And a final thing to keep in mind is portion sizes. Some restaurants go overboard with the portion sizes. And remember, it's okay to take it home. You can have it for lunch the next day, and you just don't need to consume it all in one sitting. A final note on this particular story is I think it's interesting to see all of the rhetoric around healthcare costs, particularly during this 2020 election year. But yet, we have a president who continually gorges on fast food and repeals healthy school lunch funding. And none of the candidates actually address what is at least one of the core issues of our spiraling out of control healthcare costs, and that is the food that people ingest on a daily basis. Fixing food intake is a necessary foundational component of getting healthcare costs under control. If people continue to eat food of poor nutritional value, cheap, processed, ultra-processed food, you're not going to get a handle on healthcare costs. It's just not going to happen. Our third and final story is on Tonal, the Peloton of at-home weightlifting, as they build themselves. Previously on the Fitterers Show, we've discussed both Peloton and Mirror, which are both at-home fitness hardware and subscription services to help people work out at home without having to go to the gym. And today, we're going to take a look at Tonal, probably a little more closely related to Mirror in concept, because the Tonal at-home workout program, it really tries to mimic the in-person gym experience of weightlifting with a personal trainer who calls out reps on screen and counts every single one that the user does, kind of holding them accountable from the comfort of their own living room. Well, comfort being a relative term, of course. Trainees get coached on exactly how to work through the movements using a weighted TRX suspension training-like resistance pulley. That is a mouthful, but it basically provides electromagnetic resistance for training. A little background on Tonal. I'm always fascinated by the investors in the VC rounds and who are the strategic and other investors. So this particular startup has had some pretty big investors. They just had, in April 2019, a $45 million Series C round led by Catterton's Growth Fund, which also did, I think they were involved in Peloton. So they're seeing a replication of a model that they like, and they kicked in a lot in the Series C. Other participants in that Series C round, Evolution Media, Shasta Ventures, Mayfield, Sapphire Sport, and to date, they've raised about $90 million. So what is Tonal? Tonal is an at-home strength training machine that uses electromagnetism to create resistance, and the actual unit mounts to your wall and gives you a personalized workout that's internet connected with over 200 different exercises like deadlifts, bicep curls, shoulder press, and on-demand coaching. It's one of the first products in the market with a focus on strength training. Fitness experts have increasingly stressed the importance of resistance training in addition to just cardio to maintain good health. Not a surprise. You've got to do both. Americans are starting to prioritize at-home workouts as fitness programs become increasingly digitized, with companies like Peloton and Mirror capturing this growing category. And those who work in the fitness industry say the convenience factor, coupled with a good experience of having your own personal trainer without leaving your home, is what's kind of incentivizing users to buy in. And speaking of buy-in, let's talk about the costs of Tonal. It is $2,995 for the equipment alone, plus $49 per month for a Tonal subscription. This gives you access to all of those personal training sessions, recommended programs, workouts, digital personal trainer. But to access all 200 exercises on the program, you also need a $495 extension kit, which includes a sensor-laden bar and bench so you can do all of the exercises. If you don't get that extension kit, you can still do about 80-85% of the exercises without it. But if you're going to go all in, you need to pop for the extension kit. There's also a $250 fee for someone to install it for you, because remember, this got electromagnetic weights as part of the unit, so it's not a light thing. So assuming you go all in on Tonal, the first year cost comes to $4,328 plus tax. So that's not cheap. If you look back to the other Fitterist show, we roughly calculated Peloton's first year expense at $2,838 and Mirror around $2,300 for the first year costs, respectively. So budget with this particular product is a non-trivial concern. So what are some of the pros, some of the cons, and some of the challenges? Well, assuming you could afford it and you get it installed on a wall of your choice in your house, it is nice to have the Tonal apparatus readily accessible and basically ready to go. While it's not as sleek, perhaps, as the Mirror, remember, Tonal still looks pretty aesthetic on the wall because it's got these extendable arms and it actually has more functionality than the Mirror because of the resistance arms. It can be difficult on certain exercises to turn around and face the screen to see the instructor performing an exercise, depending on what exercise you're doing, because you're trying to get situated on the bench sometimes. So that can be a little bit of a challenge. Much more importantly, however, there is really no capacity for errant form detection or correction. So with resistance weight training, proper form is critical to execute the movement properly and stimulate the targeted muscle group effectively. If not, look, you could get injured. And at present, the only safeguard that Tonal has is that if you are taking too long between reps, it assumes you are struggling with the weight and will automatically lower the resistance level. So it's a nice little feature, but there's still a pretty gaping hole for effective weight resistance training, in my opinion, because of that lack of ability to measure correct form. And as we touched on before with both Peloton and the Mirror, at the end of the day, it comes down to actual frequency of usage for any of these in-home fitness machines, whether it's Peloton, Mirror, Tonal, or some other thing that comes out in the future. And look, if having one of these dramatically improves your ongoing exercise rate, then that's great. You may just need to trade that convenience factor versus a gym membership from a financial perspective. Where I live, one can get probably a decade of gym memberships, including weights, resistance training, a wide variety of cardio machines, group classes, etc. for less than the 1 year all-in costs of Tonal. So, and you'd probably still have a chunk of change left over if you wanted to hire a personal trainer to get you started and ensure you're using proper form in a gym. But I get it. Some people don't like to go to the gym. They get embarrassed. They want to stay in the comfort of their home. Also, there's the psychological factor that has led to hundreds of thousands of home gym equipment to live their life as a laundry drying rack in the basement. Most people think of the home as a place they come home to. They eat dinner with their family, they relax, they unwind. It's not necessarily the place where they work out and sweat daily. So, as such, I'm kind of a big believer in a gym membership, personally, because it helps, I believe, with the mindset of, now I'm going to the place where I work out, a place where there are others motivating me to work out, a place where I can stay focused on the task at hand, no interruptions, and a place that has everything that I need, weights, machines, cardio, to get and stay in shape as part of my daily routine. At the end of the day, look, we'll see how broad this market is for connected at-home fitness machines, but at somewhere between $2,300 and $4,500 for 1 year costs, that market seems like it will remain a bit of a niche market until a more affordable solution emerges and comes to the forefront, gets more mass market. That doesn't mean that these companies won't be successful and land continued funding rounds by investors, but to really scale, it seems like they're going to need to hit a broader and sweeter spot in the marketplace. Anyway, that's it for this week's show. Let me know if you have any comments or questions in the show notes at www.fitterist.com/047 for episode 47, and we'll see you next week. With that, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen to The Fitterist Show. You can follow us on Instagram at FitteristMindBody and on Twitter at FitteristMind. If you enjoyed this episode, please send it to a friend or subscribe to make sure you don't miss any future episodes of The Fitterist Show. My name is Christopher Allen, and make it a magical day.